Today, we're not talking about what is said, we are talking about what is withheld. We are going to deconstruct the most powerful and honestly invisible form of manipulation out there, stonewalling. We're going to dissect the architecture of silence itself, this weaponized void that is designed to completely break you down. Okay, so let's just dive right into this paradox. We're all trained to look for threats in words, right? In arguments, criticisms, maybe even lies. But the most sophisticated kind of control, well, it operates in the negative space. It's the total shutdown of feedback, like an informational black hole that just sucks all of your energy, all of your anxiety, and all of your focus right into it. And that's what makes it the ultimate tool of control, because on the surface, it looks like nothing is happening at all. So here is our strategic roadmap. We're going to start by identifying the weapon itself, then we'll calculate the psychological cost it puts on you, we'll expose the blueprint of how it wears you down, look at why it works on a deep neural level, and then finally, we're going to arm you with a counter strategy to dismantle it and build some real autonomy. First things first, we have to do a really crucial mental shift here. You've got to stop seeing this silence as some sort of defensive shield or a passive retreat. That is a fundamental misreading of the tactic. What we're actually looking at is an active offensive attack. It is a deliberate strategy of control. Let's get really precise with our terms. Stonewalling isn't just someone being quiet. As this definition makes crystal clear, it's an information embargo. The goal here isn't peace and quiet. The goal is to induce a state of cognitive panic in the target. By cutting off all the data, the stonewaller forces your brain into overdrive, which creates a power dynamic that they can dominate without ever saying a word. And this just brilliantly illustrates the core experience. This isn't a communication problem, it's a starvation problem. You see, the stonewaller is withholding a critical nutrient, feedback, validation, connection. And they know that when someone is starving, they'll do almost anything for a single crumb. Your own mind starts to work against you, desperate to close that loop, willing to offer up anything for just one word in return. Okay, so now that we've defined the weapon, let's analyze the damage it really inflicts. We're going to take a look at the specific psychological taxes this strategy levies on your mind, because believe me, the cost of this ambiguity is incredibly high. This is what we call the interaction tax. In any healthy dynamic, right, there's a trade of ideas, a vulnerability. You give, you get. But stonewalling creates a total collapse of that equity. You find yourself sending these long, detailed emails, making heartfelt apologies, offering solutions. You are investing everything, and in return, nothing. Zero ROI. It's got to be the most one-sided transaction imaginable. And this is the moment your own psychology becomes the stonewaller's greatest asset. See, your brain is a prediction machine. It craves certainty. It needs to know what's coming next. So when it's faced with a total void of information, it can't predict the outcome. So what does it do? It panics and goes into overdrive. This is predictive collapse. You start running every single worst-case scenario. You start writing their script for them, imagining all the things you must have done wrong. And here's the final outcome. The dynamic has been completely inverted. You might have started as an equal, a partner in a conversation or a relationship, but through the strategic use of silence, you've been demoted. You are now a beggar, literally pleading for a scrap of information. This is status inversion. And the more you push, the more you plead, the lower your status falls, and the more their power is cemented. Okay, now we're going to expose the core machinery of this tactic. I want to be clear, this isn't random. It's a deliberate, almost forensic 4-phase cycle. It is an engineered process designed to wear you down over time to achieve total psychological attrition. This 4-step process is the engine of the manipulation. It starts with the cutoff, that sudden exit that creates the void. Then comes incubation, where your own mind fills that void with fear. This leads you directly to the auction, where you desperately start offering concessions to end the silence. And it's all reinforced by validation, just a tiny crumb of a reward that basically trains you to comply. Let's break down the two most critical parts of this. The ambiguity incubation phase is just genius in its cruelty. The stonewaller knows that silence is a mirror. They don't have to tell you you're in trouble. They provide absolutely no context, and your brain immediately projects its deepest fears and insecurities onto their silence. You're not fighting them. You're left to fight the worst-case scenarios your own mind is creating for you. And that fight, that internal battle, leads you straight to the compliance auction. Your anxiety peaks, the internal pressure becomes unbearable, and you begin bidding. You offer to take the blame for things you didn't even do. You offer to drop your concerns. You offer to change. You are essentially bidding for your own dignity, trying to purchase a return to normalcy with concessions, just to make the silence stop. So why is this tactic so devastatingly effective? I mean, why do we fall for it, even when we know what's happening? The answer isn't weakness, it's wiring. The answer lies deep inside the most primitive parts of our brain. Your amygdala, it's the little alarm system in your brain. It literally cannot tell the difference between social exclusion and physical danger. To your ancient wiring, being cast out from the tribe was a death sentence. So when you're being stonewalled, your brain doesn't just register it as hurt feelings. No, it registers a social death signal and triggers a full-blown survival reflex. So these three factors create the absolute perfect storm. Our neural hypersensitivity to exclusion puts us on high alert. The informational void lets our brain fill in all the blanks with the worst possible narrative. And then this triggers a bizarre twist called reactance inversion. Normally, when we feel controlled, we push back. But here, the survival instinct is so strong, it inverts that reaction. Instead of fighting back against the control, we desperately fight for the controller's approval, just to get that connection back. Logic is completely out the window. All right, we have analyzed the weapon, we understand the psychology. Now we pivot from diagnosis to action. This is the playbook. This is how you reclaim your autonomy and how you dismantle the machine. First, you have to run a diagnostic. Is this person actually just processing difficult emotions, or are they weaponizing silence? The difference is communication. Processing is announced. I need some space to think about this. Weaponizing is a cold, unannounced shutdown. One is a request for time, the other is a power play. You have to know which game you're in. So if you've determined it's a weapon, you execute the counteroffensive. 1, you state your observation calmly just once without accusation. I can see you're not ready to talk right now. 2, you set a future boundary. I'll be available later when you're ready for a respectful dialogue. And 3, and this is critical, you physically leave. You remove the audience. A performance of silence has no power without an audience. You just have to walk out of the theater. Now, the mindset that powers this entire countermove is information indifference. You have to retrain your brain to see the silence not as a threat, but as a neutral variable. It's just a piece of data. You stop sending the follow-up emails. You stop asking what's wrong. You stop trying to fill their void. By becoming indifferent, you rob the silence of its power, and you force them to re-engage on your terms. Finally, let's look at the end game. This is not about winning a single battle. This is about developing a whole new operating system, a mindset that makes you functionally immune to this tactic for life. This is about establishing true relational autonomy. This is the brutal truth of so many power dynamics. The person with the higher tolerance for ambiguity and silence, they often hold the cards. Now, the goal of your new strategy is not to out-silence them in some petty game. The goal is to make yourself a player who refuses to participate in that game at all. Your endurance comes not from stubbornness, but from genuine indifference. And this is the ultimate takeaway. This is the final mental weapon you need. When someone creates a void, your instinct is to rush in and fill it with your words, your energy, your apologies. The countermove is to turn away from their void and focus on your own world. Stop trying to repair their broken bridge and start building your own island, a source of your own validation, your own stability, and your own peace that no one else's silence can ever threaten.